shop today. We're going to look over the 71 Challenger that we picked up yesterday at the blast shop. And I've got to look it over myself prior to starting the video today. Car's a little rough. I'm not going to lie. It's going to need a lot of sheet metal work. A little bit more than what I thought. But the main structure and the frame rails of this car are all in really good shape. And it looks like it's had a slight bump in the front at one time that was repaired. So I don't think we'll have to do anything with that. But we're going to take a walk around this car and look at all the areas that have popped up since it was cleaned up and blasted, and set out a course of action as to what we're going to do as far as replacing all the sheet metal. And we'll take a look at the fenders and the doors and everything else that I had cleaned up for the car, and you can see just what we got to do on this car as we start to work on it. Okay, as you can see, they blasted the entire car, and then they spray it with a phosphate coating so it helps to keep it from rusting. That little bit of rust that you see around some of the edges, that's because the phosphate is actually water-based coating that they use on it. So we'll get a little bit of rust that comes out of there. So one of the areas that we have some issues with here, as you can see, the upper cowl section, it rusts out because the water and leaves and stuff will come in through here, and it sits down in this trough along here, and it just stays wet all the time. So it ends up rusting from the inside out. So we've got some rust issues there, and I've noticed that there are a few places that was repaired prior. Looks like there was some work done here in this corner at one time. You can see a patch was put in here, and there's one on the other side also. And we'll walk around on the other side. You can see a patch was done here where it was actually brazed in with some brazing rod. And then there was a patch put in here, and we do have some rust that came back through there again. It's going to be a tough call on whether or not to actually replace that cowl. I mean, there are areas that need attention, but it's not anything that I couldn't make patches for. So I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to go ahead and do the upper cowl on this and the firewall also, because there are some issues with the firewall at the bottom. Look around this from the inside. You can see where the light's coming through. Now at the bottom here, it's rusted out along the lower edge. And then we've got that section there. It's got some rust issues. And then the upper cowl here is pretty bad. There's probably leaves sitting in there, so that's all part of the firewall on these e-body cars. So this may require a firewall. Now I had taken the floor pan out of this car entirely, well, almost entirely, because it was bad. I knew it was going to have to get replaced. So I wanted to make sure that inside the torsion bar cross member got blasted and cleaned up, and inside these upper frame rails got cleaned up really nice. And they were all in really good shape. They don't need any work done to them, which is good. And the inner rockers, you can see that side over there is in good shape. And this one over here, we've got no rust on the inner rockers. Now, the under seat pan, again, that turned into Swiss cheese once he hit it with the sandblaster up there. So we'll have to probably put in the under seat pan, which goes up over top of the rear axle and meets the trunk pan. So this car is going to get pans from front to rear. The inner wheel houses are in good shape. The outer wheel houses, of course, they're always in bad shape on these Mopars. They collect moisture and they just rust. Trunk drop-offs are bad, which I knew they were bad. And we've got a little bit of rust here on the outer rocker section at the rear, where the quarter panel comes down and meets it, because again you get leaves and debris and dirt that settles down in there, and then you get water that comes past the quarter glass window. It gets down in there and it just sits and stays wet, and it just rusted out. So we'll have to do something with that. Again, the rest of the rocker is in really good shape, so it really doesn't warrant putting in a whole rocker panel. I'm either going to fix it, fabricate some pieces for it and fix it, or get rockers and scab in the rear sections, because the other side's just as bad. The roof skin on this car isn't too bad. No gaping holes in it. It's got some really heavy pitting here. It's got one hole in it here. This was originally a vinyl roof car. So the roof is really nice. Other than that pitting that's in it, it's flat. So I probably will not put a roof skin on it. Another area that of concern is here at the lower A pillars. Again, it's another place where moisture and dirt and debris sits, collects in here. I have to see if these are available to replace, because it looks like this section goes from here up to here, so I may be able to get just that section of it and replace that part of the A pillar, and that would take care of that. The bottoms of the cowl sides are in good shape. This car kind of rusted in weird places, and in other places it stayed nice. So yeah, just weird. Like right back here, we've got this section of this inner quarter panel is rusted out, so we'll have to make some pieces up for that. We're probably going to eliminate the drip rails on this car and give it a smooth finish to the edge. So that'll be one slight modification we do to this. The other thing we're going to do is do all flush mount glass and get rid of all the trim around the front and back glass on this. Trunk filler panel, it's not horrible, but it's got some areas in here that's got rust. It's had a patch there, 2 or 3 more patches over there. Again, I don't know if I want to go ahead and replace the whole thing, or I may just make up some new patch pieces for it and properly install them. These are just spider. These are just pop riveted in. We can't have that. The roof skin's pretty good on this side. No holes on this side. And you can see this is the back of that other outer rocker piece. It's pretty bad. Again, this outer wheelhouse has to get replaced. This trunk drop off will get replaced. The trunk pan, of course, gets replaced. Now the rain gutters are all in really good shape on this, so they'll stay. That'll give me a good reference point as to where the quarter panels will go back on. The tail light panel, it's got some issues too. Down where it meets the trunk pan, where it comes out, it's rusted. I'm not sure if they make the tail light panels for these. So I may just fix that, because once I get the rest of the trunk pan out, I can access this and repair all that along the bottom. And then there's a small hole here on this side. That won't be too bad to fix. So we'll probably leave the tail light panel and not put a new one in. Yeah, so the rear frame rails, all in good shape. No rot inside of them. That rust you see in there, again, is just from the phosphate coating that they spray on these to keep them from rusting. Everything underneath the support, the package tray in the back is good. It's not rusted out. So it's gonna get pans, trunk pan, under seat pan, main floor pan. May do the firewall and the upper cowl just to put some good metal back in it. Fix the outer rockers. And we've got a little bit of little bit of damage here, it looks like. I don't know what went on here. I'm not sure if this car was bumped here in the past. There's a little wrinklage here. Like it may have had a slight hit on this side. I'm not sure. We got to fix that. And I may modify this and do a smooth out this firewall. I did that on a different e-body car I was working on a few years ago that I never had the chance to finish it, but kind of eliminated the battery tray area, and we did the trunk mount battery. So we got rid of all this here, this bump out, and made this a nice smooth finish on both sides. We did that, and that came out really nice. And really just did it from the shock towers forward, because I didn't really want to get into rebuilding the entire fender aprons. That's a lot of work to do, but you know, you go from here, take it from the top down, and just kind of smooth it out, make it a nice finish. Radiator support's in good shape. Frame rails in the front are really nice, no holes, no rot, so those will stay. I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of US Car Tool and put in their entire body stiffening kit that they have for all the Mopars, which will come with the front tie for the lower radiator support. It'll come with stiffeners that go in along here. It'll replace the original stiffener pieces and make this a little bit more rigid. And there's some pieces that go in down here on the shock towers that stiffen all this up. And then we'll also do the frame rails to connect the front frame rails to the rears, so it'll make it almost like a full frame unibody, and that'll make the car a lot more rigid, and it'll make it handle a lot better. So that's another one of the slight modifications that we'll do, and you really don't see them too much. You'll be able to see the front radiator tie. The rest of it is it's hidden underneath the fenders, and the frame connectors are under the car, so unless you're crawling around under it, you don't see them. So that's kind of where we're at with this on the body. Like I said, a little bit more work to do than what we originally had thought. I knew most of the sheet metal was in kind of iffy shape on this, but it did have good bones, which it did come back with good bones, so I'm happy about that. So we'll go take a walk outside, and we'll give a look to the fenders and the doors that I sent up. I didn't even send the hood up because it's just got the twin scoop rally hood on it, so we're not going to use that. We're thinking about going with the shaker hood on it, and the trunk lid was beyond trying to save, so they make new trunk lids. We'll get a new trunk lid for it and put that on instead of trying to mess around with trying to fix it, because it's just really bad shape. So, but the doors and the fenders aren't too bad. We'll take a walk outside and look at those. Okay, doors. Passenger side door, really not in bad shape at all. You can see along the bottom edge, there's just a little area down here. Get out of the way. Just a slight area down here where there's some rust. And we can fix that. On the insides, you can see the inside lip is all in nice shape. It's not rusted out really bad. Even the corners are all good. So we really got fortunate with the doors being in nice shape for this car, because they can be difficult to fix. Now, driver's door is about the same. It's good back here, and it's got a little area down there. It's got some rust. That's not a big deal. It's got some dings and dents. It's got a dent here. It had a dent here that was fixed once, but again, all the insides, corners are nice. The lower area is all nice. The front corner is nice. This one's got a little bit of rust down there. That's no big deal. I can handle that. It's a lot better than having gaping holes. Now the fenders, I don't think these are the originals. I know for sure this passenger side fender is not an original fender, because if you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the video, but right here and here, and here, and here, and here, and then on down there's shadowing. This is where trim pins were, and they're the same pins that they would use around the front and rear glass for the molding clips. So this car originally had the optional side moldings, the side impact moldings that went on, and this fender did not. And neither do the doors have any shadowing from that. There's no remnants of the pins in either door, and the original quarter panels didn't have them either. So that means at some point this passenger side fender was replaced, and then it was hit again, and man, was it not fixed very well. But you know what? This is how they fixed stuff back then. You weld it up and slap some Bondo on it. These holes here are from the big chrome trim pieces that went along the fronts of the fenders and on the front edge of the hood, which we're going to eliminate those too, so those won't be going back on. But amazingly, the fenders aren't too bad as far as being straight. Just this one here, the front section, that's going to take some work to get nice. This driver's side fender's got a small dent here and a dent down here. The rest of it's not bad. It's a little whooped in here. But the heels, both of the lower fender heels are in really good shape. The front are not rotted out. The back sides, the supports are good and solid. The tops of the fenders, where there's usually some rust, a lot of times on the Mopars you get rust in here on the fenders because there's a brace that comes up and comes here, and you get water and debris that comes and sits on top of that, and over time it rusts it from the inside out. But both of these are in good shape. So the fenders are going to need a little bit of metal work, but I think we'll be able to save them. And we're probably going to end up using both of these fenders. Definitely going to use the driver's fender. I'm going to play around with the passenger side fender and see what I can do with this mess that somebody made up here. I can get this straightened out. I may cut a piece, try and patch in a piece in here. I have to see. We'll figure that out as we go on. But I'd really like to use the original fenders if I could, because sometimes the aftermarket ones are okay. I had a Camaro I did a couple years back, and we got a replacement fender for it, and it just wasn't the same. The profile along the front edge wasn't the same, and it just, you really noticed it. So if at any time you can ever use original stuff, it's always best to try and save it. And like I said, these are going to require a little bit of metal work, but I think we might be able to get it all worked out and make these to where these are nice fenders again. And I had some other pieces done, like the brake pedal bracket and the pedal assembly's done. This is the support for the front where the hood latch goes. So it got done. And the K-frame, I had it cleaned up. And it's in pretty good shape too. It's not all beat up, like it hasn't been bottomed out, too many times. But I'm not quite sure what we're going to do on the suspension yet. We may go with something aftermarket and replace this K-frame to put a different suspension system under it, because I want to have this car handle really nice. And I'm just going to look around and see what's out there as far as replacement parts. I know Hotchkiss suspension makes some really nice stuff that may actually use the original K-frame, so I got to look in to see what they have available too. So that's pretty much where we're at with the Challenger. This is my first really hard look at it since I've gotten it back. I knew this car was going to need a lot of work, sheet metal wise, when I got it. But again, we weren't looking for anything really nice. We were just looking for a car that had good bones, so we had something to build off of. And it's a nothing special car, original 318 car. So this is the car to go ahead and build. Now we're going to be doing a drivetrain in this car that's coming from Kevin Shaw at Mopar Connection magazine. If you follow moparconnection.com, He's doing a 440 build-up that's a 500 stroker, and it's got all the goodies on it from all of the different advertisers that advertise on Mopar Connection. So he was looking for a mule vehicle to put the engine in after he dynoed it, and I got a hold of him and said, hey, we're looking for a nice drivetrain for this Challenger. So we struck up a deal, and you'll see the installation of that engine go in this Challenger when it's finished, and see all the setup that goes into it, because it's going to have a Holley Sniper fuel injection setup on it, so you'll get to see that, and see all the tuning that goes on the street, and see what kind of, we may take it somewheres and get it put up on a chassis dyno and see what kind of numbers we get out of it at the rear end. So that'll be exciting as far as the drivetrain goes. We know where we're set with that. Transmission wise, it's going to have a Silver Sport transmission, 4-speed with the overdrive, automatic. Rear end is undecided yet. The car did have an 8 3/4 rear end in it. Not sure if we may just reuse that and go with a new center section with an Auburn, an Eaton Auburn posi rear or sure grip rear end in it, and wheels and tires undecided yet also. So yeah, we got a lot of planning to do with this car yet, but first off we just got to get the body back in shape, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go with the rest of it. So keep following along, and you'll see where we can head off with this project. Oh, one other thing we didn't look at too is the dash. This is the dash that was in it, and it's in really bad shape. So I'm probably going to need to get another dash shell. It's just got a lot of rust in it that's probably not going to be worth trying to fix it. If I can find a good dash shell. Anybody out there got a good dash shell, leave me a comment down below, and we'll go ahead and get together and see what we can do. So that's where we're at with the Challenger. Going to get a parts list together, get some things ordered and get shipped. So keep following along. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already to the channel. Please, it really is going to help with me continue to be able to get these videos out and allow you to see everything that's going on in the shop. I greatly appreciate everyone that's been following and watching. It's important too, when you're watching the videos, you know, I know sometimes it gets boring through the centers of them, but if you can, just let them play. Playtime is important to what YouTube looks for as far as allowing me to go forward with things here on the YouTube as my channel continues to grow slowly but surely. So again, like the videos, subscribe, share them with your friends, leave me some comments. All that activity is great for my algorithm with YouTube, and it'll help me to grow and continue to bring you more and more content. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and look for more to come on this project real soon. Thanks.